My name is Derek Lynch, and we're going to be taking a look at the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series cars here this evening. Everything is designed as the car compresses on impact, both front and back, to absorb that energy before it gets back into the main roll cage area where the driver is located. Most of the components in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series cars are specially manufactured for auto racing. There's very few pieces that you would buy off of the parts store shelf, so to speak. The engines, we run a Dodge product, so our engines start life as 340 Chrysler blocks. We're allowed to bore them out to 360 cubic inches. We go to some of the road courses and we get in speed ranges from 150 to 165 mile an hour at the longer road courses. So lots of speed there, and they're just trying to keep that down with the smaller carburetor only allowing so much air and fuel into the engine. Typically, these engines, regardless of the manufacturer, Ford, Chevy, or Dodge, will produce somewhere in the neighborhood of about 540 horsepower with the restrictions that we have to work under. When we move back into the center section of the car, a lot of the things that have transformed in these cars over the last couple of years when NASCAR took this series over from what used to be CASCAR, they changed a lot of the safety upgrades and the safety regulations, which what we had to adhere to that hadn't been there in the past. So a very good thing, a little costly on some aspects, but again, it's hard to put a price on safety, so it's good that they went ahead and did that. Our seats, we've gone away from a traditional style of seat that used to offer a lot of support in the rib section. There's still some support there, but most of the support now comes up here in the shoulder area. So on impact, if it's a side impact, your shoulders take more of the blow than your rib cage used to in the older days. Seats very safe, very form-fitting to the body. And then one of the other areas they stepped in and regulated was the addition of the head restraint system. So these headrests fit very closely beside the helmet when the driver is located in the car, and again on impact side to side, there's really not much room for the head to move around, so it really keeps the driver safe. As you can clearly see, the cab of the cars is very Spartan, really not much there that doesn't need to be there. We've got our basic gauges, tachometer, oil pressure gauge, water temperature gauge, and our oil temperature gauge. Over here we have a voltmeter. It tells us that the battery system is charging. Over here we have a main shut-off switch, which safety crews can get to in the event of an accident. The car might still be running, so they can reach in and shut the car off, kill the power. And then over here we have a variety of accessory and ignition switches. This one helps us change the ignition boxes from A to B. This one is just your ignition to send spark to it, and this is our starter button. And then we have buttons that operate our engine fan, our brake fan, and a helmet fan for the driver. The steering wheels in the car are removable. Makes it easy for the drivers to get out, in everyday situations, but certainly if there happens to be an incident on the racetrack where a safety crew has to get them out. We move back around the exterior of the car. The bodies on the cars on the outside are basically just a fiberglass shell. They're all very light. This body taken and removed from the chassis would probably weigh about 150 pounds total. So again, it's all very lightweight and designed for racing. We're regulated by the size of the hose, the size of the neck, and the actual size and diameter of the fuel cell that we can use. It's 22 gallons, but there's lots of ways to get 22 gallons, but we are regulated with the width, the height, and the length of this particular cell. We're limited by the size of the hose that we can run as far as the vent goes, and we're also limited by the size of the hose we can use that actually goes and feeds the fuel to the engine. And we will take another look inside the cab as we come back over to this side. We are required to have an onboard fire system. Okay, so this bottle is a 10-pound bottle which carries a DuPont chemical that will extinguish the fire in the event of something happening in an accident. One nozzle comes up right here and blows over onto the driver. Another nozzle follows this line and comes out down there by the driver's feet. So your primary concern obviously is the driver. Cars can be rebuilt every day, but you want to save the driver and get him out as quickly as you can. Here on the side window on the right-hand side, you'll find what we refer to as a knock duct. This duct allows external air to come in. We send one hose over here to help cool the driver, which you see snakes around and points over to the driver. This other hose goes down in and feeds a cooler underneath, which helps keeps the rear end cool. These two ducts on either side of the nose, they will have hoses hooked up to them, which will go back in and feed in to these two ducts that we have here. So 2 hoses come off the nose, they'll go in, they'll hook onto these, and that provides cooling to the brake system. Okay, folks, here we are underneath a NASCAR Canadian Tire Series stock car. It gives everyone an opportunity to see a lot of it that they wouldn't see unless there's a crash that nobody really wants to take part in. We're regulated to a 4-speed transmission, very stock appearing to anyone who's mechanical that may have seen a 4-speed transmission in a passenger car. We are allowed to have, obviously, an aftermarket one with some more durable and reliable components in it, so it just will stand up to the rigors of the Speedway a little bit better. This is the oil filter for our engine here. It's obviously a remote oil filter. Most people are used to having their oil changed or possibly doing it themselves, and it'll be located right on the engine block. Again, it's removed over here to help get it away from the heat, to give that oil an extra opportunity to travel, and we can run a much bigger filter over here than what we could on the engine block. Our rear end housing is referred to as a Ford 9-inch rear end housing, and it is just that. It's a Ford product. This product of a rear end came predominantly in trucks and vans from the Ford Motor Company. Still to this day, this type of rear end is used in those vehicles. Our braking system on the rear, very similar to the front, obviously. It's a rotor and caliper system, so we're mandated to the size and thickness of the rotor we can use, and we're also mandated to the size and design of the caliper that we can use here. The tires are an 11-inch Goodyear Eagle. They have to be bought day of the event, so there's no tampering with tires. People might ask what you would tamper with on a tire. In our world, the softer the tire, the faster you go. So lots of people get involved with taking the tire and actually chemically treating it to try and soften it up. So our tires are purchased day of the event. They're all impounded, so we can't have them just until the race starts.